I retired to Singapore on my Social Security check, and 4 years in, there's one thing about that check I honestly did not expect. But before I get into all of it, it would really mean a lot if you'd subscribe to the channel and leave a like. It genuinely helps us out over here. Now let me put your mind at ease right away because I know exactly what you came here to find out. Can a Social Security check really carry a person through retirement on the other side of the world? The short answer is yes. It can. And it does. I'm living proof sitting right here with my coffee, 4 years into it, and I'm not scraping by. I'm comfortable. Have you ever caught yourself wondering, can a check I already earned really carry me on the other side of the world? Stay right here with me on the porch, because I asked myself that same question more than once before I ever packed a single box. Let me pick you up where you probably are right now. I know that place well. I lived it for a long time. It's the middle of winter back home, and the sky's been the same flat gray for weeks. The trees out front are bare. There's that little dusting of snow on the mailbox that won't quite melt, and you go to grab the mail and there's the power bill, and it's higher than last year. Again, the heating alone eats a chunk of that fixed income before you've done anything with your day, and underneath all of it there's a quiet worry. You don't say it out loud much, but it's there. The worry that the check you worked your whole life to earn just isn't going to stretch the way you hoped, that a fixed income and a rising cost of living are pulling in two different directions and you're stuck in the middle. If those gray winters and that climbing power bill sound a little too familiar, then this one's for you. Truly. Because I felt every bit of it. Now let me tell you where I'm sitting as I say all this. I'm on my porch. It's warm out. That soft, humid warmth that wraps around you like a blanket the second you step outside. No coat, no scraping the windshield, just warm air and a glass of iced coffee sweating in my hand. Behind me there's green everywhere. This is one of the most modern cities on earth, towers of glass going up higher than you can imagine, and yet there's tropical green climbing right up the sides of them. Plants on the balconies, trees between the skyscrapers. It's a strange and wonderful thing to see, and after 4 years it still gets me every morning. And here's the surprise, the one I didn't expect. The whole reason I sat down to talk to you today. My money goes further here than it did back in the States. Let me say that again. Slow, because it took me a while to believe it myself. The same check that felt tight back home, the one that had me doing math at the kitchen table, wondering if I could cover the winter heating and still enjoy my life. That same check feels comfortable here. Not stretched thin, comfortable. I've got room to breathe. I've even got a little left over some months, and I'll get into that later, because that part genuinely surprised me most of all. Now I want to be honest with you, the way a good friend would. This doesn't just happen on its own. You don't step off the plane and suddenly your dollars multiply. There's a condition on that surprise, a real one. It only works once you learn where the locals actually spend. Because here's the trap. When you first land in a place like this, your eye goes straight to the glossy stuff, the shiny downtown listings, the fancy imported groceries that cost more here than they ever did back home. The place is built to catch a tourist's attention and a tourist's wallet, and if that's where you spend, then no, your check won't stretch. It'll disappear just as fast as it did in the States, maybe faster, but that's not where the folks who've lived here for years spend their money, not even close. They've got their own quiet rhythm, their own little corners, their own way of doing an ordinary Tuesday. And once I learned to follow their lead, once I stopped shopping like a visitor and started living like a resident, the whole math changed. That's the difference. That's the whole game right there. So that's what I want to lay out for you today. All of it. In real Singapore dollars, plain and clear, not recited like some encyclopedia, not a wall of statistics. I can't stand when folks do that. I'm going to walk you through it the way I read my own bank statements at the end of the month, my real numbers, my real bills, the little habits that make it all work, and it all comes down to one question I had to learn the answer to. Where do the locals actually spend? That's the key that unlocks everything. So let me start you right where it started for me, the very first place that opened my eyes. A hawker center lunch over near Tiong Bahru that cost me less than a cup of coffee back home. And when I tell you the number, you're going to want to hear it twice. So here's the number I held back. A plate of chicken rice at a hawker center near Tiong Bahru runs me around 4 or 5 Singapore dollars. That's it. Laksa, same story. A steaming bowl of it, coconut broth, prawns, that little kick of spice, and I'm still under $5. When I tell you what a proper lunch costs here, you'll want to sit down. Go ahead. Picture your own lunch bill back home while I say it. A diner sandwich and a soda in the States. What's that these days? $15, $18 once you tip? Out here, I eat better than that for the price of a coffee back home. I still remember the first time, my second week in the country. I followed my nose down a covered lane, all that hawker center air, garlic and chili and something sweet frying somewhere. An auntie waved me over, plated up the chicken rice, and I braced myself for the bill. $4 and change. I stood there like a fool, grinning. That was the first place where the locals' way of spending really opened my eyes, and from there I just started walking the whole month. The way I read my own statements at the end of it, plain and honest. Let me lay it out for you. Getting around, I don't own a car. I take the MRT, the trains here, and they are a genuine pleasure. Cool, quiet, spotless. You step out of that humid warmth into an air-conditioned car and you feel your shoulders drop. I've got my senior card, tap it at the gate, and I can cross this whole island for $1 or $2. The whole island. Downtown, out to the coast, back home, and I've spent less than a soda costs. Now, a car. Could I have one? Sure. But here's the thing nobody warns you about back home. To put a car on the road in Singapore, you first buy something called the COE. That's a certificate of entitlement, basically permission to own the car before you even pay for the car itself. And that alone can run you $100,000 just for the permission. So when folks ask if I miss driving, I laugh a little. I happily let it go. No regret at all. Between the MRT and a taxi when my knees are tired, I go everywhere I want, and I never think about $100,000 sitting in my driveway losing value. Let's talk bills, the stuff you actually stare at on the kitchen table. Take a guess right now what you think my power bill runs. Go on, pick a number, then hold that number because I bet it's higher than the real one. Here's why. Back home, half my old bill was heating. Furnace running through those long gray months, that meter just spinning. Out here, there is no heating bill. None. It's the tropics. The warmth is free. It comes with the sunrise. My power and my water together come in lower than you'd ever guess, and it caught me off guard the first few months. I kept double-checking the statement, thinking I'd read it wrong. Then there's rent, the big one everybody worries about. And I won't sugarcoat it. The glossy downtown listings, the shiny towers with the pool on the roof, those are pricey. But you don't have to live there. The neighborhoods worth knowing are places like Tiong Bahru, those lovely older low-rise blocks with the laundry poles out the windows and green everywhere, or out on the East Coast where you catch the sea breeze. An older place in a spot like that rents a whole lot kinder than the flashy stuff downtown. And honestly, I'd take the neighborhood with the corner coffee shop and the neighbors who nod hello over the rooftop pool any day. Now, right about here is where a lot of you start thinking, all right, this sounds good, but how do I actually lay my own numbers out? How do I know it'll work for my check before I commit? If laying out your own numbers is exactly what's been stopping you, I put something small together to make that easy. It's a little ebook, nothing fancy, just my full monthly budget written out line by line, in real Singapore dollars, the same statement I've been reading you from, and along with it, the retiree forms and a bit of filing help that make the long-term stay paperwork painless. If you want to look, the link's down in the description. And let me set your mind at ease on that paperwork because I know it's the part that scares people. There's no classic retirement visa here in Singapore. I know back home we all picture some special retiree stamp. It doesn't work that way. Instead, you stay long-term through something called the long-term visit pass, or a well-planned alternative if that route doesn't fit. A good friend of mine sorted his in an afternoon once he knew what to fill in. That's the whole point of the forms. It's a small assignment, not a hurdle. Do the homework once, and the rest runs smooth over a cup of coffee. So that's the raw math, the lunch, the trains, no car, the bills, the rent in the right neighborhood. And I'll be honest with you, on paper alone, the same check that felt tight in the States already stretches further here. already, before any tricks. But here's what I've been dancing around. All these numbers, every one of them, they only tell you half the story. They don't show the real secret. It's the little daily habits that stretch that check further than any spreadsheet ever could, and it's the part most folks moving here completely miss. I didn't figure it out on my own. A lady from Ohio, been here 10 years, took me by the elbow one Saturday morning and walked me straight into the one place that dropped my grocery bill without me ever feeling one bit poorer. She took me there on a Saturday early before the heat really settles in, and what she showed me wasn't some secret address. It was a way of shopping. The wet market near her place, tucked under an old block with the fans spinning overhead, and rows of stalls piled high with everything you could want that morning. Her name doesn't matter as much as her story. A lady from Ohio who's lived here 10 years, left the cold behind, same as I did, and she moves through that wet market like she was born to it. She'd point at a fish, chat with the fella behind the counter, ask when it came in. She'd squeeze a mango, put it down, pick a better one. She knew which auntie had the good greens and which stall to skip. And here's the thing. The prices weren't like the supermarket downtown. Not even close. A bag of fresh vegetables, a couple of fish, some herbs, all of it for what I'd have paid for one sad tray of produce back home. The stuff was fresher, too. Picked that morning, not trucked in from 3 states away. Picture yourself among the aunties at dawn, baskets full for pocket change. That's the habit I want you to remember. Not a coupon, not a trick. Just showing up where the locals actually spend and letting the place teach you, because that's what the spreadsheets never show you. You can add up rent and the MRT and your power bill all day long. But the real stretch, the part that surprised me, it lives in the little daily choices. Where you buy your rice, where you eat your lunch. My grocery bill dropped, and I want to be clear about this. I never once felt poorer for it. If anything, I ate better. Slower Saturday mornings, a chat with the fish man, a bag full of good food. That's not sacrifice. That's a nicer life. And let me paint you one more evening, because it's the one that really got me. A few weeks after that market trip, some folks invited me out to the East Coast for dinner. Now, the East Coast, if you don't know it, is a long stretch of park right along the water. Palm trees, the sea breeze coming in warm, families out on bikes, and these little clusters of stalls where the smoke's already rising off the grills. We got sauté. If you've never had it, sauté is little skewers of meat grilled right there over the coals, and it comes with this peanut sauce that I'd crossed the island for. We sat at a plastic table by the water as the sun went down. Skewer after skewer, cold drinks, the breeze off the sea, kids laughing somewhere behind us. And I remember doing the math in my head the way you do. That whole evening, all that food, the drinks, the two of us leaning back, full and happy. It cost me about what a fast food combo runs back home. A combo. Under those fluorescent lights, in a parking lot, in the cold. And here I was by the ocean with the warm air on my arms. And that's when it landed. All of it. Here's the part I promised you at the very start. The thing I didn't expect. Sit with this one. When I planned this move, I told myself the story everybody tells. It'll be cheaper over there. I'll cut back. I'll make it work. I'll get by on the check. That was the whole hope. Get by. Stretch it. Make the same Social Security check that felt tight in the States somehow cover a life on the other side of the world. But that's not what happened. Not even a little. It wasn't just cheaper. It was richer, safer, cleaner. I walk home after dark, and I don't think twice. The streets are spotless. The hawker center chicken rice and laksa I can get for a few Singapore dollars beat anything I paid triple for back home. And the food from that wet market, the sauté by the sea, the slow warm evenings, none of that felt like cutting back. It felt like more. Safer, cleaner, richer on the exact same check, and the piece I still can't quite get over. At the end of the month, when I sit down and read my statements the way I always have, there's a little bit left over. I save a little now. On the same check that used to run out before the month did, that's the thing I didn't expect. Not survival, room to breathe, So if you've been sitting there worried that your check won't stretch, that a fixed income can't carry you somewhere like this, I understand that worry. I carried it right onto the plane with me. And I'm telling you, from this porch 4 years in, it stretched further than I ever dared to hope. Not because I pinched every penny, because I learned where the locals actually spend, and I let this place show me a better way to live on what I already had. Now, is it a big step? Of course it is. I won't pretend otherwise. You've got the long-term stay paperwork to sort, the long-term visit pass, or a well-planned alternative since there's no classic retirement visa here. But you know that already. We talked it through. It's a small assignment, not a wall. Do a little homework up front and you'll have peace of mind for years. Do your homework. Go in with excitement, not with fear. Take your time and let it unfold. Because the money side, the part that scares most folks off before they even start, that part works. It really does. If you're feeling that little pull right now, that's not an accident. That's the dream saying it's doable. I'm sitting out here as I say this, coffee going cold in my hand, the sky over the towers turning that soft evening gold. The air's warm. Somewhere down the block I can smell somebody's dinner on the grill, and I think about the check I earned over all those working years, the one that felt so tight back home. Out here in all this green, it carries me just fine. It'll carry you too, comfortably, on the very check you've already earned. Come on out and see for yourself.